It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
And my name is Vania.
And Barbie, eat your heart out.
So, as you guys can probably guess, this is from Bride of Chucky, which that means that the theme for the Sounds from the Grave podcast today is women in horror. I know that Yussef has been wanting to do this one for a bit.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like horror movies are the best place for strong female characters because they just are they create so many iconic female heroines that we figured why not do an episode on it?
Yeah.
On at least some of them because there are so many.
Yeah, there's a lot of horror films that actually just strive off of female characters in general. Like, what is a horror film without having that heroine or that, that last the final girl, or just even girl monster characters kind of thing. So yeah, I feel like kind of like saying that horror women are scary, but we kind of are just a little bit, but not terrible. But yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't think we have any pending business before we start the episode though. So I think we're ready to just jump right in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will hand off the reins to you because I know the first person we're going to be talking about is a lady that is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first woman in horror is Bride of Frankenstein, which is an amazing character because even though let's talk about the movie for a second. Bride of Frankenstein, I mean, I like the movie because we actually get to see the creation through and through, especially having through the building of the Frankenstein's monster, and now them being able to construct another monster. But then we also find out that the monster actually starts to have feelings, emotions, kind of like any other person out there. So the movie is literally really long, and the fact that basically the bride shows up for the last 10 minutes of the movie and it's called Bride of Frankenstein. I was like, oh, okay, but you would expect that we would see her have more screen time, but it's still an amazing movie, especially had an iconic kind of scenes and all that stuff. So
that's true. Yeah.
What's also very interesting, it is played by the amazing Elsa Lanchester. And I actually didn't notice this until the very beginning, not very beginning. During HHN at home, they had us have marathon the movie on our own while watching it with everybody at the same time. I noticed that Elsa Lanchester appears in the first few minutes as another character.
Really?
Yeah, she does. But she's completely talkative. She looks like a normal, kind of like a villager kind of thing, and she's telling a story kind of thing, and then it goes into the actual story. It's really interesting because we do see her as a normal character in the beginning, and then if you notice that in the credits they don't credit her as the bride. They credit her as something else.
So then she might have been like that character and then got turned into the bride.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
So I didn't really realize it until watching it a third time through. And what's also really funny is that during HHN at home, they were doing also drinking games.
Oh,
and there was a joke because there was a lot for Beetlejuice. I'm pretty sure people got fucked up during Beetlejuice. But during the Bride of Frankenstein, someone really joked and said, take a shot every time you see the bride, and I'm like, you're not gonna get very fucked up. But either way, I thought that was a really cool like fact that I realized while watching the movie A Bride of Frankenstein. She's absolutely stunning. It's crazy because we also find out that her wig was not actually black and white. It was actually brown and white. And
Because the black and white and color showed up
yeah,
differently and stuff. Yeah.
and then of course we all know the red lipstick, and it's still so she still had some color to her, but she was still mainly black and white, especially in the original film. So she was really the first female horror icon and one of the first female characters to be a focal point in a film. And then it had a lot of beautiful, iconic designs that live on to this day and will for an extremely long time. And it had like a far-reaching influence, such as Tiffany from Child's Play series. So we all know that my other favorite horror film is Bride of Chucky. I know everybody's like it's more of a horror comedy, and I love the Child Plays movie in general. But so of course we all know that in Bride of Chucky, had a lot of it grabbed a lot of influence from Bride of Frankenstein, as we already know, with a lot of the scenes, especially like at the end of Bride of Frankenstein, we see the monster about to basically kill them both. And he said, "We belong dead," and of course pulls down the little lever thing to bring down the entire place. And then in Bride of Chucky, Tiffany says, "Oh, Chucky, we belong dead." So she kind of says something along the lines, especially grabbing inspiration from the movie itself. So,
Yup.
and as we all know, too, well, I actually should not be talking about this until later because we are going to be talking about a little bit more about Bride of Chucky. And of course, in for Bride of Frankenstein, she signifies female empowerment over patriarchal authority. So she is an amazing icon, and I love her, and she's everything. So
Yeah, and I mean, like, even going back to what you said earlier about her design, like, it is iconic too because the big hair, the white stripe going down the hair, like the dress,
and everybody wants to
bandages
dress
on the
up as
hands.
her for Halloween, and they all it's kind of they do people do a really good job, but sometimes they just put their own little twist to it, and she will live on for literally as long as horror lives. So
Yeah.
mhm.
So moving on to our next woman in horror, we're gonna be jumping forward a couple of years or a couple decades actually, and we're gonna talk about a little lady from Haddonfield, Illinois, Laurie Strode. And Laurie was played by loving Queen Jamie Lee Curtis. Forever love you. And she's the daughter of Janet Lee, who actually played Marion in Psycho. So there's a lot of horror connections there.
And there's also a lot of resemblance in their faces too,
Oh
which
yeah,
is ridiculous. I was like,
yeah.
damn. Like, I mean, I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis, I feel, has like a lot of horror background now thanks to that. I know that she's done other like movies such as Freaky Friday and all that stuff, but I feel like she will still have like that mark of horror on her back. But I feel
Yeah.
like she enjoys it.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, that was her first big role, and then she did like movies like Prom Night, and so she was a scream queen in
Oh
the early '80s.
yeah.
So like she was in it.
Yeah. I actually watched the Prom Night literally like 2 months ago. I didn't even know it was a thing. So I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
okay. Like she was amazing in that movie though. So.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what's cool about Laurie too is like she was a really relatable heroine in horror. Just she kind of embodied the typical like all American teenage girl of that era of like the late '70s, which kind of allowed her to be a little bit more relatable, so where people could be like, oh, like I know that girl. She's like my next door neighbor. So like
Yeah.
it kind of when the horror kind of started, it kind of hit you a little bit harder.
Yeah. It wasn't like literally what some horror icons would be where it's like scream queens. I mean, where they're like somewhat pretty and or they freaking like die easily. Like even
Yeah,
though like a lot of characters, they tend to be a little bit more glamorized, but Laurie Strode really made it seem like anybody can be in this situation.
exactly.
Hmm.
And it was interesting too, is like she didn't, she started off the movie as a teenage girl that doesn't really, like just kind of doing her thing. Ends the first movie just like that, only damaged. Like she doesn't just end the movie with like her pushing Michael off the bridge or her shooting him. It's like she doesn't get that strength out of anywhere. Like it kind of comes naturally later on in the other films.
Yeah.
Like it is in the second Halloween where she does take this like the steps, and that's when she shoots Michael in the eyes, and like she attacks him. So like
Yeah.
that's where you get to see part of her character arc. Um, but it isn't until I would say until H20, like the Halloween, like the 20th anniversary of Halloween movie, that we really
Yeah.
kind of see her come to her own as a character. Where like she is kind of prepared to meet up with Michael again. Like she takes the steps and like decapitates him. And I mean, sure, it because of stupid retconning, it ends up not being him because of
Oh
stupid
yeah.
Halloween Resurrection. It was some just random hospital guy.
Yeah.
And of course, they just had to ruin that by just killing her off in the dumbest way in Halloween Resurrection.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
gosh.
God, why? Why? Like they could have just ended with H2O, but it did allow us to get the 2018 Halloween, which they brought her back, and definitely, if it's not up there with the first movie, it is up there with like her best portrayal of that character.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Like,
really enjoyed that movie a lot, and
yeah,
it actually like surprised me that she still got her Laurie Strode mojo, even during that modern. Well, no, it's not a remake if you're technically like continuing
it's
the
like a
story in
sequel.
another way, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah. What was really cool too about it was just like Jamie Lee Curtis's acting was just so good because you really do get to see this woman that like she had this traumatic event happen to her 40 years ago, and it's just had so many ramifications. Like it affects her family life, her relationships, and made her like super paranoid, made her socially distant. Like it like
yeah,
like broke her in a way. And
yeah.
at the same time, she kind of turned to a badass because of it. Like she was like trained in guns. She knew how to fight. Like she was like, I'm ready for this guy to come back.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's crazy? It's that as we're talking about, women in horror and a female empowerment, it just really does show that, women are always seen in portrayal as weak.
Hmm.
And in horror films, it makes it seem like women do have the power to like overcome obstacles.
Oh
And
yeah.
not just like just in a little bit of a, you know, what you call it, like so as we're portrayed as weak, like this is a trigger warning, by the way, like, there's like the sexual assaults on women and all this other stuff. But we are able to actually see these horror films literally just like portray them as strong women, like that they can overcome and fight, and we're just not weak.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Like it's like yeah, it's like I said earlier. It is like a breeding ground for strong female characters.
Hmm.
It's like it kind of forces the writers to be like, oh, like let's make this be our final girl, and she ends up winning the fight. She ends up beating the bad guy. Like it's all her.
Yeah,
But I think we're ready to talk about our next lovely horror queen.
it's another
Uh,
favorite of his.
another beautiful, lovely woman, and that is Sigourney Weaver, and of course her famous character Ellen Ripley from Alien and Aliens and Alien 3 and every other movie.
All right,
And
calm your little knife, calm your knife, calm your knife.
um but what I like what one of the things I like the most about Ripley's character is that she doesn't have that typical character arc where she's kind of helpless at first and then has to become stronger. Ripley is right off the bat extremely capable. Like she's intelligent, she's practical, she's a leader. Like she's essentially an astronaut in the first Alien. Like she knows like like engineering lingo and mathematics and stuff. Like she is extremely intelligent.
Something that all girls have been in the beginning.
Yeah, but like it doesn't get showcased
Girls
as
go to
often. Yeah.
college to get more knowledge. Boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. What? Sorry.
No,
She's
that was
smart.
great. I love that. But yeah, like especially in the first Alien movie, it doesn't really waste a lot of time in giving her that leadership role after like the two men above her in station die. She's like, all right, I'm taking over. Like we're doing what I need to do now. And in terms of her intelligence too, like she plans out what she wants to do. She calculates everything, and then if something doesn't work, that's when she goes back.
Yeah.
And I was just in the first Alien movie. Like when it comes down to aliens, she has even more dimension because like that's when you find out that she was a mother, and when she was like drifting away in space for like 50 something years, she just missed out on like seeing her child be able to grow up. Like by the time she got out of the eyes, her daughter was older than she was.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like it was like really trippy.
So
Like,
you're telling me that age doesn't exist in space?
well,
Uh-uh.
well, she was frozen, so like she was in stasis. Like
I was about to
so,
say, damn, I'm about to become an astronaut. Bye.
no, it was like Captain America, where she was like frozen, and then like everybody else aged around her, and then when she got out, she got out, she was just fine, like she was the same age.
Okay.
So it was something like that, and that is like a really sad moment in Aliens, like when I think I don't remember if it's the theatrical, I think it's one of the special editions when they give her a picture of her daughter. She's like a really old lady, and like she has this moment of like, man, like I never got to see my girl again. Like she's an older lady now, like it's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. But then she does get that second chance when in Aliens when she meets up with Newt, who is like a little girl, would have been around the same age as her daughter, if she hadn't gotten on the ice, and like they bond almost instantly, and they care for each other. Like she essentially becomes Newt's mom,
Yeah.
and like yeah, like the whole pivotal moment in Aliens is when Ripley gets into the power loader and fights the Queen. It's mom against mom because like they had killed all the alien creatures, and the Queen is like, oh, she's coming back for revenge. And now it's like, and then she grabs Newt. So now it's like mom against mom,
Yeah.
So it lends a lot of weight to that fight scene or to that climax.
Damn, look at that. We were talking about amazing women in horror and mothers, just especially since this episode is going to come out right after Mother's Day. What perfect
Just like
timing.
that. Exactly.
I feel a little ashamed because I have watched Alien. I just don't remember a lot of it, so I need to go back and watch these movies because I feel out of the loop a little bit. I was like, yeah, I need to watch Aliens. Whoops.
Yeah, that's all good. It's one of those things where you just take the time, you sit down, you marathon them.
Yeah. I mean, like I like the first Alien movie, but I still haven't like seen a good handful. I feel like I've only seen Alien versus Predator. I think that's about Aliens. I might have seen, but I'm not too entirely sure because
Gotcha.
nothing is kind of coming to me as you're talking about it. I'm like, damn, uneducated, but it's great. We're talking about women in horror. We learn stuff about women in horror every day, and it's Mother's Day. So,
Exactly.
so the last Scream Queen that we are going to be talking about, but she is obviously not the least or the last. It is Tiffany Valentine.
Yep.
She is my absolute favorite queen. She is played by Jennifer Tilly, and she is basically of course, from Bride of Chucky. She serves as Chucky's girlfriend and then wife. And she is first seen in, of course, the movie Bride of Chucky. And her character is a ton of fun and showed that not just boys could have all the fun and the body count. she was just as ruthless as Chucky, if not more so, and she was a lot craftier than he was. So what I like about Tiffany is that of course you see that she's like a helpless romantic, always quoting her mother. And of course, as we see in the beginning of that movie, we see that she is with I think the guy name was Damien, and then like
Something like that, yeah.
he was trying to try to get Tiffany to like sleep with him, and of course she still had this infatuation with Chucky, and of course, and the fact that what made it so iconic is the fact that Chucky woke up, literally sliced him up, like suffocated him, that kind of thing. But what is cool about Tiffany is that she is very creative when it comes to like the way that she does her killings rather than Chucky, because she always criticizes Chucky by the way that it's like the old style, just stabbings and guns, and they're like,
Yeah, like
she's
he's
like,
just
you got to
blunt.
get more creative than that, you know? Like, what do you think it is? It's in the 80s, like where you was your knife glued to your hand. That's something that she would say. So I think she's like super cool, and the fact that she just has a lot of like iconic scenes in that movie, and especially with oh my god, there's just so many quotes, especially like of course Barbie eat your heart out, and then there is my mother said that love could set you free, but that's not true, Chucky. I've been a prisoner of my love for you for a long time. And then there's of course like there is the I wouldn't marry you if you had the body of a GI Joe. And she has a lot she is like a super fun character. And the most I think the most funniest quote of that movie is like, oh Chucky, like, do you have a rubber? And then he's like, what are you talking about, Tiffany? I'm all rubber. And you know, we all know that's not kind of true, because it's a funny way of, you know, having a sex joke in there, but they still ended up with the seed of Chucky, which we all know is what we're going to be talking about next. So, outside of the murder, she was a caring mother, as we saw in Seed of Chucky with Glenda, which is I think we could call it like a kind of like a trans character in there in a sense.
I guess I don't know what I would
Yeah,
consider that character because it's not like they changed like the physical gender. I think except they were like dressed differently, but they would
or they
act
just,
as
but
different genders.
I like identify as a female though.
Yeah, like sometimes they
Hmm.
would identify as a male, sometimes they would identify as a female.
Yeah. So gender fluid,
I guess I think that
maybe.
would be the word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know, Tiffany was also a mother. Yay, we're talking about more mother stuff. Yay. Um, but she did an amazing job playing Tiffany, and it played really well with the meta aspect of playing both Tiffany and herself in the Chucky cinematic universe, and it made it for some really funny moments in the franchise.
Yeah.
So
Like when
she,
they're like, "Oh, you look just like Jennifer Tilly," she's like, "Yeah, I get that a lot."
yeah, she looked like Jennifer Tilly. I was like, I get that a lot. Oh my god, she's so cool. You know, yesterday I was actually looking Jennifer Tilly up, and I call me. I know I'm like super in love with Bride of Chucky, but what's crazy to me is that she is 62 years old.
Really?
She is 62 years old. I'm like, what the
That
what?
woman, you know why? It's because she did some of that voodoo magic. That's why she looks amazing.
Yeah, and the fact that, you know, when I was also doing like calculations, me being fucking weird, she literally like was 40 when she played Tiffany. She was 40.
Jeez. Like
Yeah.
you remember
So
like the first time she played Tiffany?
yeah, the very first time she played
Wow.
Tiffany. So she was born in 1958, and she played Tiffany in 1998.
That's crazy. Jeez.
Yeah, so she looks good. Every guy wanted to bang her. She was the big titty girlfriend that everybody wanted. She's iconic. I love her.
That's funny because like my first exposure to her was in Liar Liar with Jim Carrey.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah, and like she was kind of awful in that movie. Like not her acting, just like her character was really bad. Like it was just a mean character.
Yeah.
So
I
like
mean,
that's like that was my only exposure to her until I saw Seed of Chucky, and I was like, yeah, this is the born like
Seed
the
of
role she was born to
Chucky.
play.
That
Or
was
Bride of
that was
Chucky.
your second. I was about to say. I was like, that was your exposure to like Tiffany's awesomeness. What
No,
the fuck?
I'm sorry, I meant to say Bride, not Seed. But yeah, like when I saw her in Bride, I was like, yeah, this is the character that Jennifer Tilly was born to play.
Yeah, and she always will be that character, and I feel like she's just gonna die and be always be known as Tiffany. And I hope that she actually likes that title. Like she's a part of a very successful franchise, and she.
And yeah,
I,
not even like the part of the franchise. It's just like the fact that you're like a fan favorite character.
hmm I would love to meet Jennifer Tilly. That's just facts.
Yeah, I would too.
I would turn into mush, but it's great. Um, so yeah, that was all of the Scream Queens that we are going to be covering for today. We are going to be doing a second part. Um, if you guys didn't already know, for those of you listening, I did also do a very similar podcast to this, and I was a guest on the Scream Queens podcast with Cece and Jess. We also did a Women in Horror podcast, of course, with also Kay from Ruby by Design. But it was a little bit more of a traditional that we talked about how we got into horror characters that we liked that are female. So I did something very similar to that in the Scream Queens as well. So if you guys want to go over and give them some love, that would be amazing. Uh,
Yes, do that because they
uh,
are awesome.
yeah, they're awesome. They're really good friends of ours. I love Cece. Cece's going through. She really is going through it recently. So please show her a lot of love too. She's been sick lately, but as long as you guys give her horror icons and give her lots of horror love, everything will be fine. But
Exactly.
yeah, and then of course, happy Mother's Day to all of the goth horror and everything in between mothers out there. Keep raising your children to love horror as much as we do. We love to have more people in our cult. It's a great
Yes.
yeah, so keep doing what you do. Thank you for all that you do for your kids. If they're not showing appreciation, of course, we will like to give our appreciation for them. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would like to echo that sentiment and like just give a shout out to all the not just the horror moms but all the moms in general that like they put up with quite a lot of stuff, especially when you have two boys
Oh
like
wow,
me and my brother, because like we are hellions.
you're
Um,
hellions.
oh yeah, but like but outside of that, just like being a parent isn't easy. Being a mom isn't easy. So like the
Yeah,
fact that you're making it, you're doing your best. Like you're already a queen.
yeah. Aw.
So to all those lovely, lovely moms, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and social wise though, Vania, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube under HHN Cultist. I do makeup vlogs regarding Howling Horror Nights. If it's not Howling Horror Nights related stuff, it's just horror related stuff in general. So I just have Twitter and YouTube for now. Thinking about an Instagram, still thinking about it, but it's still kind of in the works. How about you, Yusef?
So podcast wise, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as Sounds from the Grave.
Yes.
So there's plenty of ways that you can look us up and talk to us and keep in touch with the channel and all that kind of stuff. And then my personal stuff, you can find me on Instagram at Yusef1220 and on Twitter at itbeyusef.
Yes. So he's awesome. Also a fellow filmmaker that I like to collab with. So give him
Yeah.
lots of love. So it'd be a great time. But yeah, guys, that's all we have for today.
Yeah. So we hope you have a great rest of your day and happy late Mother's Day since this comes out the day after Mother's Day.
Yeah. So just treat yourselves, have fun, and don't stress yourself out too much with the kids. So, all right,
All
see
right.
y'all, guys.
Bye.